Dust swirled through broken windows as tiny claws scratched against twisted metal. Ember pushed his small body through a gap in the wall, his scales scraping against jagged concrete. The pocket dragon was no bigger than a house cat, but his ancient eyes held wisdom that had seen centuries pass. Today felt different. Today, something called to him from deep within the ruins of the old medical center. The war had ended 3 months ago, but the city still bled. Humans and the Dominion Alliance had torn each other apart, leaving nothing but broken buildings and empty streets. Most survivors had fled to the outer settlements, but Ember stayed. Someone had to watch over the dead places. Someone had to remember. His sensitive hearing caught something that made his heart skip. Crying. Soft. Weak, but definitely human. Children. Ember squeezed through fallen beams and climbed over chunks of ceiling. The crying grew louder as he descended into what used to be the basement levels. Emergency lighting flickered in the darkness, powered by backup systems that somehow still worked. The air smelled of medicine and death. He found them in a surgical room that had partially collapsed. 2 children, a boy and a girl, trapped under a metal beam. The boy looked about 8 years old, the girl maybe 6. Both were badly hurt. Very badly hurt. Blood pooled around them and their breathing came in short gasps. The boy saw Ember first. His eyes widened, but he did not scream. Instead, he whispered, "Are you real?" Ember crept closer. The beam had crushed both children from the waist down. Their legs were gone and worse damage hid beneath the metal. These children were dying and they knew it. "My name is Kai," the boy said. "This is my sister Luna. Our parents." He could not finish. Luna opened her eyes and looked at Ember. "You are so small," she whispered. "But your eyes are old." Ember had seen many humans die over the centuries. Usually he just watched and mourned. But something about these two made him act. Perhaps it was their courage in the face of death. Perhaps it was how they held hands even while dying. Perhaps it was simply that he was tired of watching good things end. The dragon began to work. Years ago, before the war, Ember had learned about human medicine by watching doctors work. Dragons were natural healers, though few humans knew this. His small size let him hide in air vents and observe surgeries. He understood anatomy, cybernetics, and life support systems better than most humans realized. The medical center's surgical equipment still functioned on backup power. Ember's claws, small but precise, could operate instruments designed for human hands. His enhanced vision could see details that human eyes missed. Most importantly, his ancient knowledge included healing techniques that modern medicine had forgotten. Working through the night, Ember performed the impossible. He could not save their original bodies, but he could save their lives. Using cybernetic parts salvaged from the medical center's stores, he replaced what was lost. Artificial spine segments, mechanical limbs, life support systems. The children slept through most of it, kept alive by machines while Ember rebuilt them piece by piece. When Kai woke up, he could not feel his legs. When he looked down, he saw metal where flesh used to be. His sister lay beside him, also changed. But they were alive, and that seemed like a miracle. "What did you do to us?" Kai asked, but his voice held wonder, not fear. Ember climbed onto his chest and looked into his eyes. "I saved you," he said in his small musical voice. "But you are different now. Part human, part machine. Cyborgs." Luna sat up slowly, testing her new body. Her arms were mostly human, but metal reinforced her bones. Her legs were completely artificial, sleek and strong. "Do we look strange?" she asked. "You look alive," Ember replied. "That is what matters." The dragon had done more than perform surgery. While the children slept, he had prepared a new home for them. Deep beneath the medical center lay old storage areas and maintenance tunnels. Ember had cleared spaces, set up power connections, and made the darkness into something resembling shelter. It was not much, but it was safe and hidden. Over the following days, the children learned to walk again. Their new legs were stronger than human ones, and their enhanced bones could take impacts that would break normal people. Ember taught them how to care for their cybernetic parts and how to hide their mechanical nature under loose clothing. But more than their bodies had changed. The trauma of losing everything had left marks on their minds. They woke up screaming from nightmares. They flinched at loud noises. They clung to each other and to Ember with desperate intensity. "Are we still human?" Luna asked one evening as they sat in their underground home. Ember curled up between them, his warm scales providing comfort. "What makes someone human?" he asked back. "Your heart still beat, your mind still think. You still love each other. The metal parts just help you do these things." Kai nodded slowly. "Will you stay with us?" The dragon had lived alone for so long that he had forgotten what family felt like. But looking at these two broken children who trusted him completely, he felt something ancient and warm stirring in his chest. They needed him, and perhaps he needed them too. "Yes," Ember said. "I will stay. We will be a family." That night, for the first time since the surgery, neither child had nightmares. They slept curled around their small guardian, breathing peacefully in the darkness below the dead city. Above them, the wind howled through empty streets, but down in their hidden sanctuary, three unlikely souls had found each other. Ember watched them sleep and made a promise to himself. These children would not just survive, they would thrive. He would teach them everything he knew about the world, about healing, about being strong and good despite the darkness around them. They had lost their original families, but they had gained something else. They had gained a dragon father who would love them fiercely until his dying day. The first part of their strange journey together was complete. The discovery had become a rescue, and the rescue had become the beginning of something beautiful and impossible. In a world where everything good seemed to die, three beings who should never have been family had chosen to love each other anyway, and in the depths of the ruined city, that love began to grow. 10 years passed like seasons in their underground world. The hidden sanctuary beneath the medical center had grown into something remarkable. What started as cleared storage rooms had become a proper home, complete with workshop areas, a small library of salvaged books, and even a garden where Ember had taught the children to grow vegetables under artificial lights. Luna knelt beside a workbench, her fingers moving with practiced precision as she upgraded the servos in her left leg. At 16, she had become the family's engineer, able to repair and improve their cybernetic parts with skills that would impress professional technicians. Her mechanical legs had been replaced 3 times as she grew, each version stronger and more sophisticated than the last. "Hand me the micro-welder," she called to her brother. Kai looked up from where he sat reading an old medical textbook. At 18, he had grown tall and lean, his cybernetic enhancements hidden beneath normal-looking synthetic skin. Only his eyes, which held depths that no teenager should possess, hinted at the trauma and wisdom he carried. He tossed Luna the tool without looking, knowing exactly where she was by the sound of her movements. "Chapter 12 is fascinating," he said. "Before the war, doctors could grow replacement organs in laboratories. Imagine if we could do that now instead of relying on mechanical parts." Ember lifted his head from where he dozed on a warm heating vent. The tiny dragon moved more slowly these days, his scales less bright than they once were. Dragons were not meant to live this long, but love had a way of extending impossible things. "The old ways were not always better," he said softly. "Your mechanical parts make you stronger than any grown organ could." This was their daily rhythm. Luna tinkered and built. Kai studied and planned. Ember shared wisdom and stories from the centuries before either human was born. They took care of each other in ways that went beyond normal family bonds. The outside world had slowly healed during their decade underground. Survivor settlements had grown into towns. Trade routes reopened between safe zones. The war's scars remained, but life had found ways to continue. Sometimes other survivors passed near their hidden entrance, and the family would listen to their conversations to learn about the changing world above. "There are rumors of a place called Haven City," Kai said one evening as they shared dinner around their small table. "People say it is where humans and some Dominion refugees live together in peace." Luna raised an eyebrow. "Dominion refugees? The same ones who tried to wipe us out?" "Not all of them wanted the war," Ember said quietly. "Just as not all humans did. War makes monsters of ordinary people, but peace can make them ordinary again." The dragon had taught them this lesson repeatedly over the years. Hatred was a poison that hurt the one who carried it more than anyone else. Forgiveness was not about forgetting wrongs, but about choosing not to let those wrongs control your future. But some lessons were harder to accept than others. "They killed our parents," Luna said, her voice flat. "They destroyed our city. They made us into this." She gestured at her mechanical body. Ember climbed onto the table and approached her carefully. "They gave you a second chance at life. Not intentionally, but they did. You could spend your days hating them for taking your first life, or you could spend them being grateful for the second one you built with your own hands. This was an old argument between them. Luna struggled more than Kai with forgiveness. She remembered their parents more clearly, remembered the bombing that brought down their apartment building, remembered the pain of dying and being reborn as something new and strange. Kai reached across the table and took his sister's mechanical hand in his enhanced one. "We are alive because of Ember," he said gently. "We are strong because of what happened to us. Maybe the Dominion gave us these bodies by accident, but we chose what to do with them." Luna squeezed his fingers, feeling the subtle vibration of servos adjusting pressure. "Sometimes I wonder what we would have been like if none of this happened." "You would have been ordinary children who grew into ordinary adults," Ember said. "There is nothing wrong with ordinary, but look what you have become instead." He was right, and they all knew it. Luna could repair technology that baffled trained engineers. Kai could diagnose medical conditions and perform treatments that would save lives. Both of them were stronger, faster, and more resilient than baseline humans. Their cybernetic enhancements had given them capabilities they never would have possessed in their original bodies. More importantly, they had learned compassion from a dragon who could have let them die but chose to save them instead. They understood loss and recovery in ways that shaped their character. They knew that family was not about blood or species, but about choosing to love and protect each other. "I have something to tell you both," Ember said suddenly, his voice more serious than usual. Both siblings turned to look at him, noting the change in his tone. "I am old," the dragon continued, "older than any of my kind should be. I have lived past my natural time because you needed me, but I can feel my body beginning to fail." Luna felt her heart skip. "What do you mean?" "I mean that our time together may be shorter than we hoped. Dragon bodies are not built to last as long as mine has. I am tired in ways that sleep cannot fix." Kai leaned forward. "Is there anything we can do? Medicine, technology, anything?" Ember shook his small head. "This is the natural order. Dragons live for centuries, but not forever. I have been blessed to see you both grow into remarkable people. When my time comes, I will leave knowing that you can take care of yourselves and each other." The conversation cast a shadow over their evening, but it also brought clarity. They had always known this day might come, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real. Ember would not be with them forever, which made every moment with him more precious. That night, both siblings stayed up late, sitting beside Ember as he slept. They watched his tiny chest rise and fall, memorizing the sound of his breathing. In the morning, he seemed better, more energetic, as if talking about his mortality had somehow lifted a weight from his shoulders. The following weeks took on new meaning. Every lesson Ember taught them felt like treasure to be stored away. Every story about the old world became a legacy to be preserved. Every moment of their strange, wonderful family life became a memory to be cherished. They did not know that their time was about to be cut even shorter than they feared. They did not know that forces were moving above ground that would shatter their peaceful existence. They did not know that their next separation would last 15 years and nearly break them both. For now, they simply lived and loved and learned together in their hidden sanctuary beneath the world. The tiny dragon and his 2 cyborg children, making the most of borrowed time in their impossible family. The alarm system Kai had rigged from salvaged security equipment screamed through their underground home. Motion detectors at 3 different entrance points flashed red warnings on the makeshift monitor he had built. Someone was coming down the tunnels, and they were not being careful about staying hidden. "Multiple contacts," Kai called out, his fingers flying across the keyboard. At least 12, moving fast through the main access tunnel. Luna was already grabbing weapons and supply packs from their emergency storage. They had drilled for this moment countless times, but she had always hoped it would never come. "Dominion patrol?" "Has to be," Kai replied, checking the energy readings on his pulse rifle. "Nobody else moves in formation like that." Ember appeared from his sleeping alcove, moving faster than he had in months. The tiny dragon's eyes blazed with protective fury that seemed to make him larger than his actual size. "They cannot have you," he said simply. "Not after everything we have built here." The sounds of heavy boots echoed down the tunnel system, along with the mechanical whir of combat drones. Whoever was coming had serious equipment and knew exactly where to look. Someone had betrayed their location. "Emergency Protocol 7, Ember said, using the code for their most desperate escape plan. Both of you different routes, rendezvous at the backup site in 72 hours. Luna shook her head fiercely. We stay together. We fight together. No. Ember's voice carried ancient authority that stopped both siblings in their tracks. If we all run the same direction, we all die together. If we split up, at least one of us might survive. Kai was already moving toward the eastern tunnel that would take him up through the old sewer system. He knew Ember was right, but leaving felt like tearing his heart out. Luna, take the western route. I will see you at the backup site. Wait, Luna called, but her brother was already disappearing into the darkness. The sounds of the approaching patrol grew louder. Voices shouted orders in the harsh language of the Dominion. They would reach the main living area in minutes. Go, Ember urged Luna toward her escape route. I will buy you time. I am not leaving you to die, Luna said, tears streaming down her face. Ember looked up at her with eyes that held all the love and wisdom of their years together. You are not leaving me to die. You are letting me choose how to live my final moments. Let me protect my daughter one last time. The words hit Luna like a physical blow. Ember had never called them his children directly before, though they all knew that was what they had become. Hearing it now at this moment nearly broke her resolve. I love you, she whispered. I love you too, Ember replied. Now go, make me proud. Luna ran into the western tunnel just as the first Dominion soldiers reached their home. Behind her, she heard Ember roar with a sound that no creature his size should have been able to make. The ancient dragon had found reserves of power that age and time could not diminish. The tunnel shook as explosions rocked their underground sanctuary. Ember was using every defensive system Kai had built. Every trap Luna had wired, every trick they had prepared for this day. He was turning their home into a fortress and himself into the final guardian. Luna climbed through maintenance shafts and crawled through air ducts, following a route she could navigate blindfolded. Her cybernetic legs gave her speed and agility that let her move through spaces no normal human could manage. But even as she ran, part of her listened desperately for any sound that might tell her Ember was still alive. 3 levels up, she found an observation point that let her look back toward their home. What she saw made her blood freeze. Dominion soldiers were pouring out of the tunnels, many of them wounded. They dragged something small and still between them. Ember was not moving. Luna bit her hand to keep from screaming. Her father was gone. The tiny dragon who had saved her life and raised her with infinite patience and love was dead. The soldiers carried his body like a trophy, and she could do nothing to stop them. Fighting every instinct that told her to attack, to rescue Ember, even if he was already gone, Luna continued her escape. She owed it to him to survive. She owed it to Kai to reach the rendezvous point. She owed it to their family to live. The backup site was an abandoned subway station 5 miles from their home. Luna reached it after 8 hours of careful movement through the city's underground networks. She found evidence that Kai had been there but had not stayed. A message carved into the concrete wall told her why. Luna found but taken. Following to rescue Egon. Love you. Her brother thought she had been captured. He was trying to save her, which meant he was walking into a trap. Luna stared at the message until her enhanced vision blurred with tears. In trying to protect them, Ember's sacrifice had led to exactly what he feared most. They were all separated, possibly all doomed. Luna waited at the rendezvous point for 3 days, hoping against hope that Kai would return. But deep in her heart she knew he would not come back. Either he was dead trying to rescue her, or he was captured trying to find her. Either way, their family was gone. On the 4th day, she left the subway station and began the long journey toward the surface. She had no plan beyond survival, no goal beyond staying alive in case Kai was still out there somewhere. The Dominion had taken everything from her twice now. First her birth parents and original body, now her chosen father and beloved brother. But they had not taken her skills, her strength, or her determination. Ember had taught her that hatred was poison, but he had also taught her that justice was medicine. Somewhere in the world above, there were people who needed help, who needed healing, who needed someone to stand between them and the forces that destroyed families. Luna emerged from the underground for the first time in 10 years, blinking in actual sunlight. The world above was different than she remembered. Cleaner in some places, more dangerous in others. but it was alive in ways that their hidden sanctuary never could be. She began walking toward the horizon, toward whatever future awaited a cyborg girl whose dragon father had died protecting her, whose human brother had disappeared trying to save her. She carried their love with her like armor, their lessons like weapons, their memory like a compass pointing toward something better. Behind her, the entrance to their former home was sealed with Dominion security barriers. Their sanctuary had become a tomb, but the family that had lived there, the impossible bond between dragon and cyborgs, the love that had grown in darkness and flourished despite everything, that lived on in the hearts of the two who had escaped. Even if they never saw each other again, Luna and Kai would carry their father's teachings into the world. They would be living proof that families could be chosen, that love could cross any boundary, that even in the darkest times, there were still people willing to sacrifice everything for those they cared about. The separation was complete. The family was scattered, but the story of what they had built together was just beginning to spread into the wider world, carried by two remarkable young people who had learned from the best teacher imaginable how to be strong, compassionate, and impossibly brave. 15 years of believing his family was dead had turned Kai into something he barely recognized. The gentle young man who once read medical textbooks by candlelight had become Commander Kai Chen, leader of the largest human resistance cell in the Eastern Territories. His cybernetic enhancements, once hidden beneath synthetic skin, now gleamed openly as marks of pride and defiance. Rain hammered against the windows of the Resistance Command bunker as Kai studied tactical displays showing Dominion troop movements. His mechanical fingers traced supply lines and weak points with the same precision Luna had once used to repair their equipment. But where she had built things, he had learned to destroy them. "Sir, the strike team is ready for the ammunition depot raid," reported his lieutenant, a young woman whose own scars told stories of Dominion brutality. "Should we proceed?" Kai nodded without looking up from the maps. "Tell them to remember the rules. Military targets only, no civilian casualties. We are not them." The phrase had become his signature across the resistance networks. We are not them. It was how Kai tried to honor Ember's teachings about mercy and justice, even while waging war against those who had murdered his family. Every raid he planned, every battle he fought, every victory he claimed was dedicated to the memory of a tiny dragon who had died protecting the people he loved. But mercy was getting harder to maintain as the years passed. The Dominion had responded to resistance activities with increasing brutality against human settlements. For every Dominion facility Kai's people destroyed, 10 human families paid the price. The mathematics of war were cruel and simple. "Commander," his communications officer called out, "priority message from Haven City. They want to discuss a ceasefire proposal." Kai finally looked up from his maps. Haven City was the neutral settlement that had somehow convinced both humans and reformed Dominion groups to coexist peacefully. Their diplomats had been trying to arrange peace talks for months, but Kai had little interest in negotiating with people who had shown no mercy when they held all the power. "Standard response," he said. "No ceasefire until they release all human prisoners and withdraw from occupied territories." But as he spoke, something nagged at the back of his mind. The communication protocols Haven City used were sophisticated, involving cybernetic interface technology that few people fully understood. Whoever had designed their systems had knowledge of both human and Dominion tech that seemed almost impossible. Half a world away, Luna disconnected from the communication array with a frown. She had been trying to reach resistance groups for months, hoping to find some trace of her brother, but their responses were always the same. No negotiation, no compromise, no peace until total victory. She understood their anger. 15 years ago, she had felt the same rage burning in her chest, but she had learned that rage without purpose was just destruction wearing a noble mask. Ember had taught her that healing required more courage than fighting, and time had proven him right. Luna stood on the observation deck of Haven City's central tower, looking out over streets where humans and former Dominion soldiers worked side by side to build something new. She had arrived here 5 years ago, a wandering cyborg with engineering skills and a broken heart. Now she was the city's primary mediator, the person both sides trusted to find solutions when problems seemed impossible. Her cybernetic legs, upgraded countless times over the years, carried her silently through corridors lined with art created by both species. The tower itself was her design, a fusion of human and Dominion architecture that somehow felt like home to everyone. Her mechanical hands, enhanced with micro-tools and sensors, had helped build most of the city's infrastructure, but her greatest achievement was not any building or machine. It was the piece itself. "Luna, we have a problem," called Director Ross, the human leader of Haven City's council. "The Dominion High Command is threatening to cut off all support to our reformed communities if we continue harboring resistance sympathizers." Luna turned from the window, her enhanced vision automatically analyzing the stress patterns in the director's face. "And the resistance is threatening to attack any settlement that negotiates with Dominion forces. I know, I just tried to contact their eastern commander again. Any luck? None. Their leader seems completely committed to military solutions." Luna paused, accessing files stored in her cybernetic memory banks. Commander Kai Chen. No background information available, but his tactical signature suggests advanced technical training and significant personal motivation. The name meant nothing to her. 15 years of believing her brother was dead had convinced Luna that the Kai she remembered had died in those tunnels along with Ember. The resistance commander who shared his name was just a coincidence, a ghost that reminded her of what she had lost. Director Ross shook his head. "The irony is that we are so close to a real peace treaty. If we could just get the resistance to stop their attacks for 6 months, the moderate Dominion factions could gain enough political support to force a complete withdrawal from human territories." 6 months, Luna repeated thoughtfully. What if we offered something they could not refuse? Information about Dominion prisoners, perhaps, or technological assistance. They have made it clear they are not interested in our help. Luna was quiet for a long moment, remembering lessons learned in an underground sanctuary that no longer existed. Ember had always said that the hardest problems required the most creative solutions. Sometimes you had to offer people what they needed instead of what they wanted. "What if we offered them something they have been searching for?" she said slowly. "Everyone in the resistance has lost someone to the war. They fight because they hope to find their missing family members or to avenge them. What if we could give them closure?" Ross raised an eyebrow. "You are suggesting we help them find their dead?" "I am suggesting we help them find their living. Our databases contain information from both human and Dominion sources. We might be able to locate people who have been missing for years, reunite families that thought they were broken forever." It was a beautiful idea, and Luna knew it might work. But she also knew that some searches ended in graveyards, and some reunions revealed that the people you remembered had changed beyond recognition. She herself had stopped looking for traces of Kai years ago, partly because she feared what she might find. The resistance commander who bore her brother's name might be violent, bitter, and hardened by war. The gentle boy who had read medical textbooks and held her hand during nightmares was gone, if he had ever existed at all. Better to remember him as he was than to discover what he had become. But other families might have better luck. Other people might find that love could survive even the worst circumstances. "Do it," she told Director Ross. "Offer them our databases, our research capabilities, our best efforts to find their missing loved ones. Make it clear that this is not about politics or ceasefires. This is about healing." Ross nodded and left to draft the proposal. Luna remained on the observation deck, watching the sun set over a city that proved peace was possible. Somewhere out there, her brother's ghost was planning another attack, another act of war in the name of family he thought was dead. She wondered what Ember would think of how different their paths had become. Would he be proud that she had chosen healing over revenge? Disappointed that Kai had chosen war over mercy? Or would he simply be sad that his children had grown so far apart that they could not recognize the love they still carried for each other? Luna touched the small dragon pendant she wore around her neck, a piece of jewelry she had crafted from salvaged metal to honor her father's memory. Tomorrow she would begin the search for missing families, hoping to reunite people who thought they had lost everything. She did not know that the first name in her database would lead her back to the one person she had given up trying to find. She did not know that Commander Kai Chen was Commander Kai, her Kai, her brother who had searched for her for 15 years before finally giving up hope. The paths that had diverged in darkness and tragedy were about to converge again, in ways that would test everything both siblings had learned about love, forgiveness, and the courage it took to let go of the past. The peace conference room in Haven City had been designed to make everyone feel equal. Human and Dominion delegates sat at a circular table with no head position, surrounded by walls that displayed art from both cultures. Luna had spent weeks preparing for this moment, crafting proposals that might finally end the cycle of violence that had consumed so many lives. She reviewed her notes one final time, her cybernetic fingers accessing files stored in her enhanced memory. The Resistance had agreed to send a representative after Haven City offered to help locate missing family members. It was a small breakthrough, but perhaps enough to start real negotiations. The door opened and Director Ross entered, followed by the Resistance commander they had been corresponding with for months. Luna looked up from her files, ready to offer a diplomatic greeting, and felt her world shatter. The man standing across the room was older, scarred, and harder than she remembered. His cybernetic enhancements were visible and clearly military grade. His eyes held pain and anger that 15 years of war had carved into his soul, but underneath all the changes, underneath the uniform and the weapons and the commander's bearing, was a face she knew better than her own. "Kai," she whispered, the word falling from her lips like a prayer. He stared at her for a long moment, his enhanced vision scanning her features, comparing them to memories he had tried to bury. Her hair was different, longer and darker. Her clothes were civilian rather than the salvaged gear they had worn underground. Her cybernetic legs were sleek and sophisticated, clearly upgraded many times. But her eyes, her voice, the way she held her head when she was thinking, all exactly as he remembered. "Luna?" His voice cracked on her name. "You are supposed to be dead." The other delegates in the room exchanged confused glances as the mediator and the Resistance commander stared at each other across an impossible gulf of years and assumptions. Director Ross cleared his throat, but neither sibling seemed to hear him. "I waited," Luna said, standing slowly. "At the rendezvous point. I waited for 3 days. I saw the message you left. You said the Dominion had taken me, that you were following to rescue me." Kai took a step toward her, then stopped, as if afraid she might disappear. "I spent 2 years searching every prison, every facility, every possible location. They said you were dead. They never caught me. I made it out through the Western Tunnel just like we planned." Luna felt tears streaming down her face, but her voice remained steady. "I thought you were captured trying to save me." The truth hung between them like a blade. Their father had died to protect them, and they had both survived. But a misunderstanding born from love and desperation had kept them apart for 15 years. They had been living in the same world, fighting the same war, but on opposite sides of a conflict that need never have existed if they had simply found each other sooner. "Ember," Kai said quietly. "He died saving us. I saw them carry his body away." Luna's voice broke on the words. "He called me his daughter right before the end." They moved toward each other slowly, as if approaching something fragile that might break under too much attention. When they finally embraced, it was with the desperate intensity of people who had lost everything and found it again when hope was gone. "I never stopped looking for you," Kai whispered into her hair. "Even after they told me you were dead, I kept searching. Every mission, every raid, I hoped I would find some trace. I gave up," Luna admitted. "After 5 years, I convinced myself you were gone. I tried to honor what Ember taught us by building something good instead of destroying things. But I never forgot you." They might have stood there forever holding each other and trying to process the miracle of reunion, but Director Ross gently cleared his throat again. "Perhaps we should postpone the formal negotiations? This changes, well, everything." Kai pulled back slightly, his military training reasserting itself. "No, we proceed as planned. But the situation is more complex than anyone realized." He looked at Luna with eyes that held love and confusion in equal measure. "You have been working for peace. I have been fighting for victory. We want the same thing, but we have chosen completely different paths to reach it." Luna nodded slowly. "Ember always said that hatred was poison, but I think you never heard that lesson. Or maybe you heard it but could not accept it after what happened to us. The Dominion killed our father," Kai said, his voice hardening. "They destroyed our home. They have spent 15 years oppressing and murdering humans across the galaxy. How can you sit at a table with them and talk about peace? Because some of them are trying to change. Because war has cost too many families what it cost us. Because Ember would want us to find a better way than endless violence." It was an old argument. the same one they had begun to have as teenagers but never finished because their world exploded around them. Now, as adults shaped by years of loss and different choices, they found themselves on opposite sides of the most important question they would ever face. "I have a responsibility to the people who follow me," Kai said, "to the families who have lost everything. I cannot just forgive and forget because you ask me to. I am not asking you to forgive and forget. I am asking you to consider that peace might save more lives than war." Their argument was interrupted by a commotion in the hallway outside. A Dominion delegate rushed into the room, his face pale with shock. "Forgive the interruption, but we have just received intelligence that changes everything." He activated a holographic display that showed the interior of a high-security research facility. At the center of the image was a containment unit surrounded by medical equipment and monitoring devices. Inside the unit, barely visible through the transparent aluminum, was a small form that both siblings recognized instantly. "The subject has been held at this facility for 15 years, the delegate continued. "Our scientists have been studying its advanced knowledge of cybernetic medicine and multi-species biology. The creature is still alive, though its condition has deteriorated significantly." Luna felt her knees give out. Kai caught her automatically, his own body shaking with the shock of what they were seeing. Ember was alive. Their father, their teacher, their beloved guardian was alive and had been suffering in captivity for 15 years, while they believed he was dead. Where? Kai's voice was barely human, filled with a rage that made his previous anger seem like mild irritation. "The Titan Station Research Facility, in the Outer Rim. Maximum security, but..." The delegate hesitated, clearly understanding the danger of what he was about to say. "There are those among us who believe the subject should be released. This research was never authorized by the current government." Luna stood with Kai's help, her mind already racing through possibilities. "How many people know about this?" "Very few. The facility operates under old military protocols. Most of our current leadership has no idea it exists." Kai was already moving toward the door. "Then we take it, tonight, before anyone can move him or increase security." "Wait." Luna grabbed his arm. "This has to be done carefully. If we attack the station, they might kill him rather than let him be rescued. We need a plan that gets him out alive." For the first time since they were children, the siblings looked at each other and saw not their differences, but their shared purpose. Ember was alive, and everything else became secondary to bringing him home. "You know the station's defenses," Kai said to the Dominion delegate. "We know how to plan an infiltration. Together we might actually have a chance." Luna felt something she had not experienced in years. Not just hope, but certainty. They were going to save their father, and they were going to do it together. The revelation that had shocked them, the discovery that they were on opposite sides of a war, the 15 years of believing they were alone, all of it mattered less than the simple fact that Ember needed them. "The peace negotiations are postponed," Luna announced to the room. "We have a family to reunite." The Titan station hung in space like a metal spider, its research levels extending in all directions from the central hub. Luna studied the facility's schematics on her portable display, while Kai coordinated with both resistance fighters and reformed Dominion soldiers who had volunteered for the rescue mission. Their combined task force was something that would have been impossible a week ago. Natural enemies working together, because they all understood that some things mattered more than politics. "Security. Grid shows 12 patrol drones in the outer perimeter," reported Sarah, Luna's technical specialist. "But I can create a window of about 8 minutes if we time the electromagnetic pulse correctly." Kai nodded, his attention split between multiple communication channels. "My people will handle the security station while Luna's team reaches the research level. The Dominion volunteers will secure our exit route and make sure no one activates the station's self-destruct protocol." They had been planning for 18 hours straight, combining Luna's knowledge of Dominion technology with Kai's tactical expertise and resources from both sides of the conflict. The result was a plan that was complex, dangerous, and completely dependent on perfect timing. But none of that mattered as much as the image they had all seen of Ember, barely visible through the containment unit's viewing window. The tiny dragon who had saved 2 dying children was now dying himself, kept alive only by machines while scientists extracted every piece of knowledge from his ancient mind. "Insertion teams. Prepare for deployment." Kai announced over the communication network. Remember, our priority is extraction, not combat. We get in, we get him, we get out. Luna checked her equipment one final time. Her cybernetic legs were loaded with micro-tools and emergency medical supplies. Her enhanced arms carried both technical interfaces and defensive weapons. She had become the perfect fusion of engineer and soldier, shaped by years of building peace but ready to fight for the family that had made her who she was. The assault began exactly at midnight, station time. Sarah's electromagnetic pulse disabled the outer sensors, just as Kai's fighters breached the security station. Luna's team used maintenance shafts to reach the research levels, while Dominion volunteers secured the main corridors. For 8 precious minutes they moved through the station like ghosts. Then the alarm started screaming. Secondary security grid just activated, Sarah reported, her voice tight with stress. Someone triggered a manual override. Anticipated, Kai replied calmly, even as weapons fire echoed through the communication channel. Contingency Plan 7. All teams converge on the research level. Luna was already there, her cybernetic hands interfacing directly with the containment unit's control systems. The technology was sophisticated, designed to keep its occupant alive while allowing complete monitoring and extraction of biological data. But it was also 15 years old, and Luna had learned things about cybernetic medicine that its designers never imagined. I need 3 minutes to safely unlock the containment system, she called out. If I rush it, the life support might fail. You have them, Kai promised, and she could hear him directing defensive positions around the research laboratory. Luna worked with desperate precision, her enhanced fingers dancing across control interfaces, while her cybernetic brain processed system diagnostics faster than any baseline human could manage. The containment unit was more than a prison. It was a life support system keeping Ember alive despite his body's natural desire to finally rest. The lock disengaged with a soft hiss, and the transparent aluminum barrier slid aside. Luna reached into the unit and gently lifted out the small form that had haunted her dreams for 15 years. Ember felt impossibly light in her arms, his scales dull and his breathing shallow. Medical sensors attached to his tiny body monitored vital signs that showed a creature existing at the very edge of life. But his eyes, when they opened to look at her, still held the ancient wisdom and infinite love she remembered. Luna, he whispered, his voice barely audible. My daughter, you found me. We both did, Luna replied, tears streaming down her face. Kai is here too. We came together. Ember's eyes widened slightly and she saw joy flicker across his features. Together, good, I hoped. I dreamed you would find each other again. Kai appeared at Luna's shoulder, having fought his way through security forces to reach them. When he saw Ember, truly saw the condition their father was in, his composed military bearing cracked completely. What did they do to you? He whispered, his enhanced vision cataloging the medical ports and monitoring devices that had kept the dragon alive for 15 years of captivity. They kept me breathing so they could learn. Ember replied softly. Dragon knowledge is valuable. Medical techniques, historical data, methods of healing that were old when your species was young. Luna carefully disconnected the monitoring devices, her medical training telling her what Ember's vital signs meant. He was dying, had been dying for years, kept alive only by machines and his own impossible will to survive. The rescue had come too late to save his life, but perhaps just in time to let him choose how it ended. We need to move, Kai said gently, understanding what Luna had already realized. We can get you to proper medical facilities, find a way to... No. Ember interrupted, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had made peace with mortality. I have been waiting 15 years for this moment. Not to be saved, but to see my children together again. Station security was closing in around them, but the combined resistance and Dominion forces were holding defensive positions that gave them precious time. In the center of a military operation involving hundreds of people and millions of credits in equipment, 3 family members simply held each other and tried to find words for feelings too large for language. I am so proud of both of you, Ember continued, his breathing growing more labored. Luna, you chose healing over hatred. Kai, you protected people who could not protect themselves. You both honored what I tried to teach you, even when it led you down different paths. We found each other, Luna said, adjusting her hold to make Ember more comfortable. We are together again, just like you wanted. And now you can finish what I started, Ember replied, looking at both of them with eyes that seemed to see far beyond the present moment. The knowledge they took from me, it is not gone. I shared it with both of you over the years, in lessons and stories and small demonstrations. Between the two of you, you carry everything I know about healing, about bringing different species together, about building bridges instead of walls. Kai leaned closer, his voice breaking. We do not want your knowledge. We want you. Ember's small smile was filled with infinite tenderness. You have always had me. In every choice you make to help instead of harm, every moment you choose love over fear, every time you remember that family is not about blood or species but about choosing to care for each other, you carry me with you always. The sounds of combat were growing closer, but Luna found herself focused entirely on Ember's voice, trying to memorize every word. The peace negotiations, the war. How do we fix everything that is broken? The same way you fixed yourselves, Ember replied. One choice at a time. One act of compassion at a time. One bridge built between former enemies who discover they have more in common than they thought. His breathing became even more shallow, but his voice remained clear. They will not believe it at first. Peace always seems impossible until the moment it becomes inevitable. But you will show them that different species, different ideologies, different histories can become family if people are brave enough to try. Kai was crying openly now, his tears falling on scales that had once seemed indestructible. I do not know how to do this without you. You do it together, Ember said simply. Luna's wisdom and Kai's strength. Kai's protection and Luna's healing. Apart, you are remarkable individuals. Together, you are unstoppable. The dragon's eyes began to close, but he forced them open one more time. Promise me. Promise you will not let my death restart the cycle of hatred. Promise you will use this moment to build something better. We promise, Luna whispered. We promise, Kai echoed. Ember smiled one last time, his expression peaceful in ways that 15 years of captivity had not been able to destroy. Then I can rest. I have seen my children become the people I always knew they could be. I have seen them choose each other over the forces that tried to divide them. That is enough. That is everything. His breathing stopped so gently that they almost did not notice at first. The tiny dragon who had saved 2 dying children, who had raised them with wisdom and love, who had sacrificed himself to protect them and then endured 15 years of captivity, hoping to see them again, finally allowed himself to rest. Luna and Kai held him between them, crying for the father they had lost twice, grieving for the years they could have spent together, mourning the end of the most important chapter of their lives. But underneath the grief was something else. Gratitude for the time they had been given, pride in the legacy they would carry forward, and determination to make his final sacrifice meaningful. The extraction team reached them as they knelt together in the research laboratory, cradling the small form that had meant more to them than anything else in the universe. The war could wait. The peace negotiations could wait. The future of human-dominion relations could wait. For now there was only love, loss, and the promise of 2 remarkable people who had learned from the best teacher imaginable how to choose hope over despair, healing over hatred, and family over everything else that tried to tear them apart. Ember's death would indeed break hearts, just as the title had promised. But it would also heal them, bringing together not just his 2 children but entire species who would learn from their example that love could transcend any boundary, survive any separation, and transform even the most broken things into something beautiful.